Hello and welcome to another Dominions 6 quick tips. In this one we're going to go over army scripting. Do note however this will not include commander scripting. That's a big enough topic on its own, so it will probably need its own video. So every single squad in the game can be given its own script or set of orders and formations. You can give each unit one of 8 general orders, and for some orders one of the 7 targeting orders. This is known as scripting or a battle script for the squad. The general orders are none, attack, hold and attack, fire, hold and fire, fire and keep distance, retreat, and guard commander. By default, all squads will have the none general order, where the computer will decide what the squad will do each battle or what it thinks is best for them to do. Attack, fire, hold and attack, hold and fire keep distance will also let you choose a target squad to do this order on, and we'll go over them a little bit more in a bit. So, the attack order makes it so that your units will advance towards their target to attack in melee. Fire will tell your squad to use its ranged attacks on a target until they run out of ammo and then engage in melee. If they are not in range, they will also run forward until they are. Hold and attack will make your units hold in place for 2 battle turns, and they'll use their ranged weapons, if they have any, against any target in range, before advancing and attacking in melee. Hold and fire will make the squad hold, and they'll fire their ranged weapons if they're in range, before either continuing to fire if they were already in range, or advancing until they are within range, and then commencing fire. Fire and keep distance will make the squad advance into range, continue to fire, and then attempt to back off should the enemy get too close before resuming fire. Retreat will cause your squad to run off the battlefield at the start of the battle without attacking. And then guard commander will cause the squad to protect the commander they are assigned to, keeping close to them and attacking enemies that come too close. Now, if you have an order that requires a target, then you can also give a target order. The squad will randomly select an enemy unit that matches this target type and target them and their squad for whatever order you've given them here. Now, these can be archers, in which case a random unit with a ranged attack is selected. Cavalry, a random mounted unit or fast unit is selected. Flyers, a unit that can fly is selected. Closest, the closest enemy squad is then selected. Rearmost, which then means that the rearmost, which targets a random enemy unit at the rear of the enemy battle formation, or large monsters, which means a random unit of size 7 or more and its squad are targeted. If there are no size 7 units, then a size 6 will be treated as a large monster for this order instead. If there are no matching enemy units to a target order, then a random unit and its squad will be targeted instead. Okay, so that's the battle orders you can set for a squad. Now we'll go on to formations. You can see your army's formations here in the Position Army tab. For the basic formations, you have a box formation, which deploys your units with no gaps and as close to a box formation as it can. Skirmish formation is exactly like the box formation, but there's this gap between where your units are placed. So between the unit to the right and left of a particular unit, there will be a gap of 1 between them. This will also give you a -1 morale when you're in this formation. And this is the default formation for undisciplined units. Box formation is the default formation for all other units. You also get additionally some advanced formations, which are only available to commanders with a high enough base leadership. These are line formations, as we see here, where they're aligned in a straight line with no gaps. A double line, which is similar to a line but half are placed in front and half are placed behind. And then a sparse line, which is similar to a line but with a space in between each unit square and also additionally has a -1 morale penalty. So why use some formations? As a generic overview, skirmish gives your units a chance to not be engaged by the enemy if they're on the flanks. Say if we had these crossbowmen and we want to try and get round to the back of the enemy army, putting them in skirmish formation means there's a big enough gap that they shouldn't be too hurt by enemy missiles. And if any of the unit come to intercept, say from like the middle of the battlefield, then they'll probably intercept on these guys down here at the bottom. But because of their spacing, these guys at the top here will be able to wrap around the enemy unit. Note, this will obviously not work if there are enemy units in front of it. As soon as you make contact with the enemy, that's it. You're locked in melee combat until someone runs away or dies. So for our cavalry, for example, we could put them in a skirmish formation, in which case they're less likely to be intercepted by an enemy unit. And they should be able to hopefully successfully attack the rear of the enemy's force. However, skirmish can really only be used, in my mind, if you have no other formations to pick from, just due to the morale malus. Box formations are better than skirmish if you kind of want to do this thing, because they don't have the -1 morale, but it's still not the best due to the fact that your units are quite tightly clumped together so that you're more likely to be hit by missiles or large AoE. If you can use them, lines, in my opinion, are far more effective for tar pitting your foes, especially on, say, your front lines here. So if we have our double lines here, or we have a single line, the enemies will be more likely to make contact with these units and engage them in melee in comparison to, say, the box formation of these red guards. Sparse lines are an interesting one if you want your line to get past the enemy's line while still trying to tar pit them as best you can, just so that you can do damages to units behind or potentially flank around, but it is less effective defensively for your own back lines. So we could have, for example, these archers here in their sparse line formation. Because there are gaps in this line formation, once they've been killed, or once enough of them have been killed that there's space for units to pass through, they will be able to get past them to anybody behind them that we see here. Using a double line with tanky units and with your main infantry units is really good for tar pitting your enemies, so it's harder for them to get through to your back lines. But this is just a very generic overview. When it comes to formations and what to choose, it really depends on what unit you have and what you want their battlefield task to be. This is something you're going to get much more used to as you get more experience into the game. Hopefully those generic types will help you a little bit. As well as formation types, you have the ability to manually place your troops on your side for the starting battlefield. For more advanced ideas, if you have units that can fly, having them on hold and attack rear or attack archers can let the main battle lines clash before starting their attack on the enemy's weaker troops in melee, and this can be countered instead by having dedicated melee forces sitting behind your army set to hold and attack flyers that will then move forward and try and attack flyers if there are any in the enemy unit, or if not, they will simply attack a random enemy squad. This can also be used, for example, if we say wanted them to instead attack cavalry, if we're more concerned about cavalry, or large enemy monsters if we know the enemy has it. Your scripting should really be based on what you know the enemy has. So for example, if you are fighting against Calum, then you know they're going to have a bunch of flyers, you need to be ready to counter flyers. Whereas if you're against, say, middle-aged man, then you've got to worry more about their archers and their cavalry. Okay, enough blethering on about formations, let's see them in action. So let's end this turn here, and there'll be a massive battle that happens in the arena, and we'll have a little check of it. So let's have a little view of the battle. So this will be a fairly slow battle, we'll speed on through it. You can see here our formations here. So we have our double line formation here, set up in a double line. You can see our archers here in their spaced line. They have a gap of at least 1 square between them. We've got our box of our cavalry who are set down here at the bottom. And then we have our double line of crossbowmen and set in a skirmish formation with a box between each occupied square. And here we have our guys at the back, double line, they're ready to attack flyers. Because there's no flyers, they will instead target an enemy unit at complete random. Here we have the Elmish troops, you can see that they're set up in a sort of similar fashion, and we'll see how they go from here. So fast forwarding, you can see the lines are going to come together. Fantastic, there's a little bit of ungrouping there, since they pass through the crossbowmen, that's absolutely fine. These Elmish troops are going to attack the Tianchi troops, and it seems like the Tianchi guys are routed. That's a shame for them, but never mind. Interesting battle. Obviously battles will not look like that in actual games. That was quite a ridiculous size of armies with no mage support, but I thought it'd be an interesting one so you could see the formations in action. Speaking of mage support, I thought this would be funny, so let's see what happens if you actually bring mage support to a battle. This is not a good script in any way, shape or form. This is me just having fun. But this will be quite interesting because, yeah, there we go. There's the meteors. This is what happens when you actually bring mages and all of a sudden all your formations are for naught. As you can see, the Elmish troops are being hit by meteors. I just thought this would be quite funny to watch. Yep, there we go. What an absolute chaotic battle. You can see immediately that having good mages is definitely better than having none, although I think the Elmish troops have actually taken more casualties in this battle. Okay, well thank you very much for watching this one. Please let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to cover in these quick tips. And hopefully this has been helpful to you for getting an idea of how to set up your army scripts. We'll do another video on commander scripts at some point, but until then, take care.